Princess Aria of the Vaisheri Empire stood at the edge of her citadel balcony, watching the twin suns set over a sea of white towers. She felt safe in her royal robes, with her silver braid falling over her shoulder. Below, the city hummed with life. Merchants calling, children laughing, and guards patrolling the marble streets. Aria closed her eyes and breathed deeply, savoring the moment of peace she knew would soon end. By dawn's first light, the Vaisheri throne room erupted in chaos. Guards raced through the corridors, voices echoing with alarm. Aria hurried from her chambers, her heart pounding. She found her mother, Queen Selene, clutching a royal seal and staring at the broken doors of the council hall. "Aria," the queen gasped, "they have betrayed us." A group of high-ranking nobles, once loyal to the crown, had joined forces with a ruthless general. They seized the palace and declared the queen deposed. Aria watched in horror as swords glinted in the torchlight and royal banners were torn down. She tried to speak, to demand mercy, but a strong arm seized her. A guard in black armor dragged her through halls she had known all her life. They did not call her princess. They called her slave. They stripped away her fine silks and silver jewelry. They bound her wrists with iron cuffs that bit into her skin. Aria felt her breath catch at the harsh metal. Her braid was cut, and her hair fell in tangled strands. In that moment, all her titles and honors meant nothing. She was as common as any street beggar. From the palace, they marched her to the Kaldor slave markets, a place of suffering whispered about in every corner of the empire. The journey lasted days. They walked through dusty roads under a cruel sun. Each day, Aria's feet ached and her body ached more, but her spirit flickered like a candle in a storm. She refused to bow her head or beg for kindness. She remembered her mother's words, "Honor even in despair." Along the road, villagers watched in silent fear. Some hid behind huts. Some spat at her. A few brave souls whispered prayers she could not hear. Aria tried to hold her dignity, telling herself she was still a princess, even if nobody else remembered. At night, she huddled on the hard ground, gazing at the stars and clinging to hope. At last, they reached the walled gates of Kaldor. The air reeked of smoke, sweat, and fear. Aria's eyes burned from the stench as she stepped into the chaos of traders and watchers. She saw rows upon rows of slaves, their hands tied, their eyes void of hope. Aria pressed her cheek to the iron bars of her cage, her voice hoarse as she whispered to herself, "This is not the end." Even as a slave, Princess Aria held on to her royal spirit. Though the chains clanked around her wrists, her heart beat with quiet defiance. She refused to be broken. She refused to be forgotten. And somewhere, beyond the walls of her prison, a single thread of destiny waited to be woven by a human from the stars. Captain Elias Rowan stood on the polished metal deck of the Starport Plaza, arms crossed as he surveyed the bustling market. Ships of every size and shape drifted among steel pillars and neon signs. Traders shouted prices, mechanics tinkered with droids, and exotic creatures prowled in cages. Elias had come to Kaldor for supplies and crew, but what he saw made his chest tighten. Rows of chained slaves under harsh lights, their eyes hollow. He followed a line of guards carrying a new group of captives into the center of the market. As the heavy doors clanked open, a tall figure stepped forward in ragged clothing. Her hair hung in tangled strands, and her hands bore iron cuffs. But her posture remained proud, her chin lifted as if she still wore a crown. Elias felt a sudden pull in his gut. He had heard rumors of a fallen Vaisheri princess, but this could be her. A slaver barked orders, dragging the woman before a crowd of bidders. Elias watched cold faces raise credits, eager to claim the next purchase. He clenched his jaw. Every slave here had a name once. Every life mattered. He unchecked his data pad and tapped rapidly, raising his bid above them all. The crowd fell silent as the price climbed. When Elias spoke, his voice boomed over the plaza. 1,000,000 credits, and she is free. The murmur of shock rippled through the traders. The highest bidder smirked and waved his hand. But Elias met that gesture with another. More credits, until the slaver threw up his hands. He stamped a metal seal on a contract and handed the woman's cuffs to Elias's guard. For a moment, the freed girl did not move. Then she looked at Elias with wide, guarded eyes. He stepped forward and offered her a hand. "You are free," he said softly. "My name is Elias Rowan. Come with me." Her grip was cautious, but she took his hand. As they walked away, slavers shouted accusations and threats, but Elias paid them no mind. He guided her through the crowd, past stalls selling spices and weapon parts, and toward his ship, the Aurora's Dawn. Inside the cargo bay, he offered her food and water. She knelt on the floor, trembling, and took small sips. Elias watched her carefully. "You don't have to speak yet," he said. "Rest here. I will not harm you." The woman lifted her head. She wore no crown or royal garb, only the scars of her journey. Yet in her quiet gaze, Elias saw both pain and strength. That night, as stars wheeled overhead on the ship's viewport, Elias sat beside her. He admired her courage. "If you wish, I can take you home," he offered, "or anywhere you choose." The woman's lips pressed into a thin line. She did not answer, but her eyes held a spark of hope. Captain Rowan did not know her name, her past, or her future. But he knew one thing. He would protect this woman, this princess-turned-slave, from the darkness that chased her. And so began an unlikely alliance, born of mercy and a daring human heart. Araya sat on a narrow bench in the Aurora's Dawn cargo hold, her back straight though her body ached. The metal walls hummed with power. She wrapped her thin blanket tightly, listening to the steady thrum of the engines. Captain Elias Rowan stood by the hatch, watching her with quiet concern. He stepped forward, carrying a tray with steaming noodles and broth. The smell was warm and familiar. "You must be hungry," he said, setting the tray before her. Araya looked at the food, then met his eyes. She nodded, hesitant. When she dared, she picked up the chopsticks and lifted a strand of noodle. The hot broth soothed her throat and warmed her chest. She ate in small bites, her gaze drifting to the viewport above. Stars scattered like diamonds against black velvet. Araya drew in a slow breath. "I have never left Vesheri space," she said softly. "I do not know how to travel the stars." Elias smiled gently. "Hyperspace can be strange at first, but I will guide you." She placed her chopsticks down. "Why did you help me?" she asked, voice low. "You knew nothing of my rank." He paused, thoughtful. "I saw someone in need. If I could help, I would, no matter who she was." Araya studied him. His brown eyes were steady, kind, without judgment. He carried himself with a calm confidence. In his uniform, he looked like any starship captain, but softer in the light of the hold. They spoke for a long time, trading their stories in quiet sentences. Elias told her how he grew up on a mining colony, learned to fly ships to earn credits, and vowed to use his luck to help others. Araya shared memories of her childhood palace, gardens of silver tulips, grand halls where music floated like wind, and her mother's gentle laugh. With each story, a fragile trust formed between them. Araya realized that she no longer felt alone. The weight of slavery still pressed on her heart, but Elias's words were like a breeze that lifted dust. Over the next days, Elias taught her small tasks aboard the ship. He showed her the navigation console, buttons that flickered with blue light, screens that displayed distant worlds. He let her steer the ship through a routine jump, her hands trembling on the throttle as the stars blurred into streaks of light. She laughed in delight when the ship landed smoothly in Lunsta's orbit. In turn, Araya taught Elias a simple Vesheri greeting. He practiced the strange syllables until he stumbled over them, then grinned when he succeeded. They shared meals in the mess hall, watched holofilms in the lounge, and walked together on the observation deck beneath the full moon of Andara. One evening, Elias found Araya gazing at the twin moons, her reflection soft in the glass. Are you ready to face your past? He asked gently. Araya turned to him, her eyes bright with determination and fear. I do not know if I am, but I know I cannot hide forever. Elias nodded. Then we will face it together. Under that quiet promise, their unlikely companionship deepened. A princess turned slave and a human captain, bound by mercy and growing respect, prepared to chart a course toward danger, and perhaps toward hope they had never dared to dream. Araya awoke to the soft hum of the aurora's dawn coasting through space. Faint lights flickered on control panels as the ship drifted toward the frontier world of Andara. She dressed quietly in a simple tunic and followed Captain Elias Rowan to the bridge. News just came in, Elias said, his brow furrowed. He tapped the comm console, and a holoscreen flashed with images of the Vesheri capital, Zendari. Citizens crowded the streets, clashing with armored troops. Banners of the new regime flew over royal statues that once stood proudly. Araya's heart clenched as she watched. They are hunting escaped nobles, Elias continued. Your name is in every report. They call you a traitor. Araya pressed her lips together. She remembered the fear in her mother's eyes when the coup began. Now, from light years away, she felt that fear return. They will not rest, she murmured. They will want to destroy everything they stand for. Elias placed a steady hand on her shoulder. You can hide here, he offered. Andara is full of human settlers who oppose the Vesheri regime. They will protect you. Araya shook her head. I cannot stay hidden forever. My people suffer under these rulers. They need hope. She turned to face him. What if I speak for them? What if I lead a rebellion? Elias studied her quietly. You have no army, no soldiers, no ships. Her dark eyes flashed. I have you, and your crew, and those on Andara who still believe in justice. It may not be an army yet, but hope can grow faster than fear. Elias nodded slowly. Then we must find allies first. He tapped the console again, bringing up a star chart. There are 3 potential groups on Andara: the Free Traders Guild, the Remnant Royals, and the Vanguard of Justice. Each has its strengths and its risks. Araya traced a finger over the glowing map. Which one trusts a human captain? She asked. They all respect you, Elias said, but they respect you more when they see unity. If you and I arrive together, they will know this is more than a fight for a throne. It is a fight for freedom. Araya took a steady breath. She felt the weight of her past and the pull of her destiny. Then let us go, she said. I will speak with these leaders. I will tell them I am Princess Araya of Vesheri, and I will ask them to join me. Elias gave a small, proud smile. Very well, Your Highness, he said, offering a respectful bow. Araya returned the gesture, feeling the old pride of royalty rekindle, but tempered now by the resolve of a warrior. As the aurora's dawn began its descent toward Andara's green fields, whispers of a royal return started to ripple through the frontier. News vessels would carry the word across star lanes. The long-lost princess was back, and she did not come alone. In the silence that followed, Araya pressed her palm against the viewport. Beyond the glass lay a world of chance and danger. Yet inside her pulsed a steady truth. She would not be a slave again. She would raise the banner of rebellion, and she would lead her people to freedom. The aurora's dawn touched down on the grassy plains of Andara at dawn. Golden light spilled across rolling hills, and dew sparkled on tall grasses. Princess Araya stepped onto the landing ramp beside Captain Elias Rowan. Though she wore simple travel clothes, her bearing was that of a queen returning home. Before them lay the town of Fairhaven, its wooden buildings clustered around a central plaza. Here, the Free Traders Guild had agreed to meet Araya. Merchants in colorful vests greeted the ship's crew with cautious nods. Elias led Araya through winding streets to a sturdy hall marked by a carved wooden sigil of scales, symbol of fair trade. Inside, the guild masters sat behind a long table. Their leader, Mira Solon, studied Araya with sharp, clever eyes. Princess of Vesheri, Mira said, voice level, Why should we risk our lives for your cause? Araya met her gaze. Your trade routes suffer under the new regime's blockades, she said. Your ships are taken, your profits seized. If we restore rightful rule, you will regain your freedom to trade across the stars. Mira leaned back. Words are easy. Action is different. She tapped a finger on the table. What guarantee do we have that you will keep your word? Araya's voice was steady. I will sign a treaty that ends all slavery, frees your captains, and rewards your service with safe passage rights. I will not lead a kingdom built on broken promises. Elias stepped forward. I stand behind her words. My crew and I will serve as guarantors. Together, we will enforce this treaty. Mira exchanged a look with her council. After a tense moment, she nodded. Very well. The Free Traders Guild will join you, on one condition. Show us proof that other groups will stand with you. Araya and Elias thanked Mira and left with copies of the treaty. Next, they sought the remnant royals, a band of former Vesheri nobles in hiding. They trekked through misty forests to an old manor overgrown with vines. There, a small group of dignified men and women watched their approach. The head of the group, Lord Karen, folded his arms. Princess, you ask us to follow you after we swore never to trust royalty again. Why now? Araya stepped forward, drawing strength from her queen's heart. I understand your fear. I too was betrayed. But I have known suffering beside common people. I know my people need a leader who has felt their pain. Let me prove myself by your side in the battles to come. The nobles whispered among themselves. Finally, Lady Maris spoke softly. We will join your cause, but we will test you in the field. If you lead us well, we stand with you. With the remnant royals tentatively pledged, Araya and Elias set out for the last alliance, the vanguard of justice. This militant group trained freedom fighters in hidden camps. Under starlight, they hiked to a secret clearing lit by firebeams. Their leader, Commander Jax, eyed Araya's silhouette. You have wealth and titles, he said, but this fight needs more than talk. It needs sacrifice. Araya felt her chest tighten. I will stand on the front lines. I will not ask others to do what I will not do myself. Elias watched as Araya unsheathed a simple sword and held it before her. Then fight with us, she challenged. Commander Jax nodded slowly. I will trust your blade if you earn it. As dawn broke over Andara, 3 banners, scales, crown, and hammer, rose side by side. Under them, a new alliance formed. Traders, nobles, and fighters united with a freed princess and a human captain. The path to rebellion had been paved in words and tests of faith, and now the true work of rebuilding hope would begin. Under the gray morning sky of Andara, Princess Araya led a squad of vanguard fighters through a narrow canyon. Captain Elias Rowan walked at her side, his keen eyes scanning the rocky walls for signs of ambush. Their mission was simple but dangerous. Disrupt a supply convoy that funneled weapons to the usurper's forces. Araya gripped the hilt of her sword, feeling its weight steady her. Though she had never trained as a soldier, she had practiced daily since forging alliances. Each swing of the blade reminded her that she could protect her people. Elias carried his plasma rifle with ease, the cool metal a contrast to her warm grip. They crouched behind boulders as the convoy rumbled into view. Crates marked with the cruel emblem of the new regime were stacked on hover trucks. Armored drones hovered above, their scanners sweeping the canyon floor. Araya swallowed hard, but met Elias's gaze. He nodded once, and she raised her hand in the rebel signal. With a sharp whistle, the vanguard fighters surged forward. Araya charged alongside them, her blade flashing in the dim light. Elias fired precise bursts that disabled drone engines, sending them spinning to the ground. The rebels moved swiftly, cutting bonds and opening supply crates. A sudden explosion rocked the canyon entrance. Reinforcements had arrived sooner than expected. Soldiers poured through the gap, their armor black and unyielding. One soldier aimed directly at Araya. Instinctively, Elias jumped between them, taking the energy blast in his shoulder. He grunted but stood firm, lowering his rifle's barrel toward the soldiers. Araya's heart pounded. She raced to Elias's side and pressed her hand to his wound. Warm blood seeped through her fingers. "Elias," she cried, voice tight with fear. He flashed her a quick, reassuring grin. "I'm fine," he said, though his voice was rough. "Keep fighting." Rage and determination surged within Araya. She roared a battle cry and sprinted at the nearest soldier, her blade striking with purpose. Each movement was precise, fueled by her need to protect Elias. The other rebels rallied behind her, pushing the soldiers back toward the convoy's wreckage. Moments later, the enemy forces retreated, leaving the rebels victorious but weary. Araya knelt beside Elias, who had collapsed against a rock. She tore a strip from her own tunic to bind his wound. He winced, but did not complain. "You saved me," Araya whispered as she tied the cloth. "No," Elias replied, his hand finding hers. "We saved each other." A soft silence fell over them. Around them, the vanguard fighters gathered captured weapons and freed supplies. The canyon echoed with relieved laughter and whispered praises for their leaders. Araya rose, helping Elias to his feet. She laid her hand on his shoulder, steadying him as they surveyed the scene. "Today, you proved you would risk everything for me," she said. Elias brushed dirt from his uniform. "And you proved you would fight for your people. Even a princess can inspire soldiers." Araya smiled, a new warmth blooming in her chest. In that moment, amid the smoke and echoes of battle, they understood the depth of their bond. Trust forged in mercy and tempered in conflict had become their greatest strength. As the sun peeked through the canyon walls, Araya and Elias led the rebels back toward Fairhaven, their partnership stronger than any army, and their hearts united in purpose and growing affection. Before dawn, the rebel fleet gathered in orbit above Zendari, the Vesheri capital world. Princess Araya stood on the bridge of the Aurora's dawn, her cloak drawn tight against the cold air. Captain Elias Rowan joined her at the viewport, his hand resting lightly on her arm. Below, the city's gleaming towers lay silent, unaware of the storm about to break. Araya turned to Elias. "We have one chance to end this coup," she said softly. "If we fail, my people will suffer more." Elias nodded. "We will succeed," he promised. "You will reclaim your throne." Araya drew in a steady breath and led the small strike team through the fleet's hangar bay. Allied ships formed a ring around the capital citadel, their weapons trained on key defenses. Inside the flagship, explosives were loaded onto boarding pods. When the signal came, the pods launched in silent arcs toward Zendari's central palace. Araya and Elias were among the first to drop through the atmosphere. Blue thrusters flared as they cut through clouds and swept toward the royal plaza. They landed in a courtyard overgrown with broken statues. The usurper's guards, clad in black armor, surrounded them. Araya lifted her voice in challenge. "For Vesheri freedom," she cried. The rebels charged at her cry. Blasts from energy rifles cracked in the air. Araya fought with her sword, its blade humming as it deflected guard weapons. Beside her, Elias fired his plasma pistol with calm precision, each shot disabling a soldier without waste. The rebels pressed forward, breaking the guard lines and racing toward the palace gates. Inside the grand hall, the usurper General Corvesh stood before a shattered throne. His armor bore scorch marks, and his face twisted with rage. "You dare return, princess," he snarled. Araya stepped into the hall. The rebels closed behind her. "This ends now," she said. Corvesh lunged, his staff weapon crackling with energy. Araya met him, blocking his strike and spinning free. They traded blows beneath burning chandeliers. Corvesh's strength was great, but Araya's determination burned hotter. Outside, Elias led the rebel fighters in securing the palace grounds. He dispatched the last of the guards and opened the side gates for the remnant royals and traders to pour in. Soon, the entire plaza thrummed with victorious rebels. Back in the throne room, Araya pressed Corvesh to the edge of the dais. With a final powerful thrust, she knocked his staff from his grasp. He fell to one knee, panting. Araya pointed her sword at his chest. "Yield," she commanded. Corvesh's eyes flickered with defiance, then acceptance. He bowed his head. "I yield," he whispered. Araya lowered her blade. The hall fell silent save for the rebels' cheers outside. She turned to Elias, who had entered the hall moments before. He offered her a proud smile and extended his hand. Araya took it, her heart swelling with relief. Together, they walked to the throne. The storm of battle passed, and in its place came the light of a new dawn. Princess Araya reclaimed her crown in the city that once forgot her. At her side stood the human who loved her, ready to help her build the future they both dreamed of. Dawn's pale light filtered through the tall windows of the Zendari Palace throne room. Princess Araya, now Queen Araya, sat upon the restored ivory throne. The banners of the old regime had been replaced by her new standard, a silver tulip over a field of emerald. Around her, the remnant royals, the vanguard fighters, and the Free Traders Guild leaders waited silently. Araya rose, her gown of simple white silk rustling softly. She looked at the faces before her. Many were kind, some were wary, all bore the weariness of war. Her heart ached for the lives lost in the siege. She lifted both hands. "Today we celebrate victory," she began, voice clear and steady. "But victory alone does not heal our pain." She paused, scanning the room. "We have a choice, to punish those who harmed us, or to show mercy and build a better empire." A murmur ran through the assembly. Some nobles exchanged skeptical glances. Commander Jax of the vanguard frowned beneath his helmet straps. Even Elias Rowan, standing at her right, looked tense. Araya met Elias's eyes. He nodded slightly, encouraging her. She continued, "I have seen what cruelty can do. I have felt its sting. I will not be a queen who rules by fear." She turned to the remnant royals. "Your family suffered when you were hunted. Yet I offer mercy to those who now kneel in shame." Lord Karen stepped forward. He wore simple rebel armor instead of princely robes. "Your mercy is bold, Your Majesty," he said, "but some will see it as weakness." Araya held his gaze. "Mercy is not weakness. It is strength guided by conscience." She raised her voice so everyone could hear. "I hereby decree that General Corvesh and his loyalists be given fair trials. Those proven guilty of cruel acts will serve sentences restoring what they destroyed, rebuilding homes, freeing those they enslaved, and repairing trade routes they blockaded." Silence followed. Then Mira Solon, head of the Traders Guild, broke in. "Rebuilding trade is vital. If we punish with labor, we all benefit. Yet how will you ensure these sentences are carried out?" Elias stepped forward, clearing his throat. "The human merchant fleet will assist, under guild supervision. My crew and I will oversee transport and safety. We will not let anyone cheat the system." Araya smiled gratefully at Elias. "Together, we will enforce justice fairly." Commander Jack stepped from the vanguard. "I fought for vengeance," he admitted, "but I respect your choice, Queen Araya. The vanguard pledges to guard the trials, to protect your throne, and to defend the innocent." Araya bowed her head. "Thank you, Commander. I know this path is not easy, but I believe it is the only one that leads to lasting peace." She lifted her head, voice firm. "From this day forward, slavery is banned throughout the empire. All freed slaves will receive land, work, and rights equal to any citizen. The Vaishari Empire will stand as a beacon of freedom among the stars." Cheers rose around her, growing until the palace walls seemed to tremble. Araya looked to Elias, who stepped beside her, offering his arm. She took it, feeling both the weight of the crown and the lightness of hope. As the crowd descended to begin the celebrations and the work of rebuilding, Queen Araya and Captain Rowan stood together, ready to shape an empire built on mercy, justice, and the enduring strength of conscience.